I believe that all our supervisors are back. Supervisor Crandall was here. He just has his video off. Ms. Hutchinson, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do we have Johanna?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. And is Ms. Grant here?
Present, sir.
All right. I think that's the gang. So is everybody ready to go? Sam and Jake checking in?
On this end.
Okay, got a thumbs up and an okay. All right, welcome back everybody. It's 1:50 p.m. Oh, Supervisor Crandall's coming back in. And we left off, we had finished all of our timed items, gone through our consent agenda and have already done 7.1. So we will continue on with 7.2, consideration of the following advisory board appointments: Agriculture Advisory Committee, Scotts Valley Community Advisory Council, Fish and Wildlife Advisory Committee. And I will, it says clerk of the board, but I'm going to ask for Supervisor Pyska or Supervisor Scott, since you asked to create the Agricultural Advisory Committee, if you can get started on any comments or presentation you'd like to make.
I would yield to Supervisor Pyska, since this is her committee.
Thank you. I looked over all the suggestions, and we have more than enough applicants to fill the roles that we were looking for. For the processing, we have Pat Scully from Scully Packing, so I think that would fit. And I also believe that they grow pears too. So the other thing I was looking for is a lot of overlap with the applicants. Charles Randall Craig was the applicant that applied for the organic slot, and he was the only one. And then the other three were for different crops throughout our county, with one of them being cannabis. And we had some applicants turn in yesterday, but I'm going to stick to the ones that made the deadline. So Alicia Russell from Pro Farms was the only cannabis applicant that made it in on time. And she also has processing too. So again, some overlap there. And then Sharon Zoller, this was her idea. And she was one of the first people to apply. She has a background in grapes, pears, and walnuts. So I think it's great that she'd be on the board too. So we have two possibilities for the wine grape position, and that would be Bruce Merrilees or David Weiss. And I don't know if any of you have thoughts on that. I have a good relationship with Bruce Merrilees, so I would probably just pick him because I know him, but I know that David Weiss is also a longtime grower in our area. So those are my recommendations. I'm just trying to figure out between those two for the grape growers, and if anybody has any thoughts, I'd love to hear them.
All right. And I believe it goes all the way from the top down to Rhonda Armstrong, or is that Scotts Valley? Oh, sorry, that's a Scotts Valley Community Advisory. My mistake. So all the way down to Russell Kramer. Any comments or questions from the board on those appointments? Okay, seeing none. I will say that while looking at it, I find that it's very, very Big Valley centric. And I would like to look at Russell Kramer, who does have a ranch down in Lower Lake, as well as grazing land in the city of, or just outside of the city of Clear Lake. That way there would be a District 1 and District 2 representation on this advisory committee, as agriculture is definitely surrounding the entire county, not specific to the Big Valley area. He does grow hay, he does have walnuts, and as I said earlier, grazing cattle as well on his land, with 50 years of agricultural experience as well. And so if that's a possibility, that I would like to suggest that he be able to be on the board as well.
Well, I'm looking at Bruce and David because they also have held positions with the Wine Grape Commission. And that's really the slot that I was looking for. with the other crops, when we have just the 3 crops, we've got cannabis as one. And then I'm pretty committed to keeping Sharon because she has helped me along with this committee. So then the open slot would be the wine grape slot. And I don't know if Russ is a wine grape grower or part of the wine grape commission. I feel like there needs to be representation there.
And is there any way to looking at the overlap between Pat Scully and Alicia Russell? I do not believe, and I could be wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not believe that Scully grows the pears. I believe they just process and package the pears.
From past conversations, I've heard that they put in some pears. But I think having our biggest processor in our county, longtime processor, be the pears and the pear sheds. I think we have to stick to that and appreciate that we have overlap with cannabis processing, but that's its first year. And the pear sheds are a long-standing industry. And I know that this is Big Valley heavy, but this really is the bulk of our ag industry here.
Okay. Any other comments from other supervisors or questions before we open it up for the public?
No.
Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and open up to the public, and let's go ahead and unmute Brenna Sullivan, who's got her hand up.
Hi, Supervisors. This is Brenna Sullivan from the Lake County Farm Bureau. First, I just really want to thank Jessica for continuing on and putting together this ag committee. I do want to offer kind of some points to consider. To answer Supervisor Sabatier's question on the Scullys, yes, they do grow pears. In fact, they grow a significant acreage of pears in the Big Valley area. And Pat Scully was one person that I immediately thought of when I first heard about this committee. As far as the wine grape seat, both Bruce and David would be excellent members on the committee. They just are really both excellent growers. They can offer different perspectives. You know, Bruce is a smaller grower. David also farms a significant acreage across the county. He was another person that I first thought of when I heard about this committee. I do want to say that both Pat Scully and David Weiss have been leaders in the labor force issue in Lake County, especially regarding COVID-19. They were involved in the initial meetings with Dr. Pace over the summer and have a tremendous amount of experience both in local labor issues and really all issues across Lake County agriculture. So, you know, I don't want to recommend one person over the other, just to offer that perspective, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on anyone else.
Thank you very much. If we have any other public comment, Jake, if we can open up the Zoom room, please.
All right, I have sent an unmute request out to the Zoom room floor. If you'd like to make a comment, please unmute and state your first and last name.
Okay, hearing none, let's go ahead and bring it back to the board. And I've said my piece, so let's take the action or have a further conversation.
I'm ready to take the action. Mr. Chair, I move that Sharon Zoller, Bruce Merrilees, Alicia Russell, Charles Randall Craig, and Pat Scully be appointed to the Agriculture Advisory Committee.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Johanna, if we could please get a roll call.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, motion passes. That was for the Ag Advisory Committee, and next is our Scotts Valley Community Advisory with Rhonda Armstrong. Any
Yes.
comments or questions on that?
Just that Rhonda is a current member, and I would love for her to continue serving on the Scotts Valley Advisory Committee.
Okay. Any further comments or questions from the board? Okay, let's go ahead and reopen up the Zoom room for that, please.
All right. I've sent an unmute request out to the Zoom room floor. If you'd like to make a comment, please unmute and state your first and last name.
Okay, hearing none, let's go ahead and bring it back for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve Rhonda Armstrong to the Scotts Valley Community Advisory Council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Johanna, if we can please get a roll call.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our Fish and Wildlife Advisory Committee. We have Paulino Yanez as a applicant. He is from District 2, and I'd be happy to see him continue in his position that he's been in for the past, I believe, 2 years, maybe 1 year. But I absolutely approve of his appointment. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, let's go ahead and open up the Zoom room one last time for this item, please, Jake.
All right. I have sent an unmute request out to the Zoom room floor. If you'd like to make a comment, please unmute and state your first and last name.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring it back for action. And if somebody can please take care of that motion.
I'll go ahead and move. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, EJ. I'll go ahead and move to appoint Paulino Yanez to the Fish and Wildlife Advisory Committee. And I will second.
Thank you for that. We have a motion and a second. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm looking at the next item and I'm not seeing, oh, there we go. We have Director Pomeroy here. So let's open up item 7.3. Consideration to approve advanced step hiring of Ms. Eileen Harmon in the position of Public Health Nurse Senior at Step 5 due to candidates' extraordinary qualifications. Director Pomeroy.
Thank you, Chair Sabatier, and good afternoon, supervisors. So as your board is well aware, public health has had a really difficult time hiring these positions, especially a public health nurse, which is a special certification past an RN, and especially someone with, this many years of experience. This candidate comes to us with over 30 years of experience, 12 years directly with other counties in public health. And she also has specific training and experience in programs that we serve here in Lake County, including foster care, Children's Health and Disability Services, California Children's Services, communicable disease. And to find a candidate of this caliber is extremely rare for us. And with her experience and her years of service, we are graciously requesting your board to approve Step 5 for this candidate so we can get her on board.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Any questions or comments from the board on this item? Okay, hearing none. I will say that this is a conflicting moment for me on this due to the situation in your staffing in order to fill it up. And with COVID-19 still being still requiring a lot from your staff. But at the same time, I'm conflicted because of the recent changes that we've made in the class and comp study. And I don't believe that this has gone through the class and comp committee, and wondering if it's something that can be discussed there. I know we've also discussed the possibility of incentives in one of our previous meetings when we were discussing, I forget the item, but I think it was 2 weeks ago that we were discussing that. I think it was during our cannabis tax conversation, actually, and wondering if that's something that could help. Again, I'm conflicted on how this will be taken by our staff, but at the same time, I don't want to let go of somebody that's qualified, and wondering if that's a process that we can make sure this goes through and see if we can make it happen efficiently so that we don't lose this candidate, since the qualifications are definitely there. So that's my feelings and concerns on that. Any comments from the board based on what I just said, if that's a good direction or if that's not the right direction?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, you know, I kind of had with this agenda item coming to the board also, we have the class and comp committee that we have. I know it's convened, and as we're trying to work through our new class and comp study that we put together, I think it would be appropriate that it goes to the class and comp study. You know, I know that CAO Hutchinson also is on, looks like she has her mic off, but yeah, that would be my recommendation also.
So your board, while I can appreciate all of that, you know, somebody with this many years of experience is making way more than step 5 in other counties. We're still a good 20% below our other medical facilities, and a PHN is such a hard certification to fill, and they're required, they're mandated in these programs. And we're gonna lose this candidate, and we've already lost so many. I really would appreciate your board's reconsideration of this for step 5 to help this department. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Supervisor Scott? We're not going to let you speak. There you go.
Thank you. How long have we been looking for this position? How long was it offered?
Years. Seriously, years. I mean, we have not hired a PHN in probably 2 years.
And that's because nobody was qualified, or nobody would work for us for the money we were.
Nobody will accept the amount of pay, including this client. This is her kind of bottom line. No one will accept the pay. We have interviews, people apply. When we tell them the salary, they will not accept it.
I have a quick question for timeline purposes. Ms. Hutchinson, when is the next class and comp? Is it just when it's called to convene, or is there a specific schedule?
Well, if your board directs that this go to the committee, I'm planning to convene it right away so we can have this item back on your agenda for next week. I understand the urgency of this, and I understand the struggle this department has had with nurses. So we're not suggesting a long delay. I just would like to see the committee have an opportunity to review this request and bring it back next Tuesday.
Okay. Any further comments, Supervisor Crandall?
So it will come back next Tuesday with the same issue. I mean, the same request, or are we just looking at it a different counter offer or something like that?
Well, I would yield to the committee to review it, and so I don't think we know the answer to that yet. But the point I'm making is that we'll bring it right back.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further comments from supervisors?
Just that I'd be willing to go one more week to have the committee look at it and come back with a recommendation.
Okay. Let's go ahead and open it up to the public and then come back to the board. Jake, if we can please open up the Zoom room.
All right. I've locked the meeting. Okay, I've sent an unmute request out to the Zoom room floor. If you'd like to make a comment, please unmute and state your first and last name.
Hearing none, let's go ahead and bring it back to the board. I'd like to offer two potential ways to look at resolving this. I'm still nervous about doing the step 5, and again, it's mainly not an issue of the qualifications. It's an issue of the 900 plus other staff who will be looking at this as and scrutinizing our decision here versus the decision that we've made for the class and comp study. And I'm wondering, because I know HR has the capability to approve, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Hutchinson, but up to step 3, if the qualifications are there. So I would love to, if that hasn't gone through the process, which I didn't see that in the memo, so I'm guessing that that was not the case, unless I'm mistaken, that maybe going through that process, and if HR finds that the qualifications are there in order to meet step 3, that would be approved, and let's see what the applicant says to that. And also ask for the class and comp to look at the review. That way we have options as to what can and cannot be possible, rather than just having one option. That way we can make sure to try to look at this from different angles and ways to find resolution.
So the client has already declined, the applicant has already declined anything lower than step 5.
Okay, I guess that leaves us with only one option, at least for me, one option to send it back to the class and comp to take a look at that. That is, it's hard. Any other comment from supervisors on this?
No.
Okay, I guess with the consensus, is that the direction we wish to go?
Yes.
Back to the class and comp study. And I know that that is not the decision you were looking for today, Director Pomeroy, but we hope that we can find some way to make it work. Again, we appreciate all the work that your department does, but we have to look at how this impacts the overall process in moving through the new era post class and comp. And I know that we're trying to be mindful and careful of how we move into that situation, because part of these steps in the past is what brought us to the situation of having to redo our class and comp, and doing some as quickly as this is tough. So hopefully the class and comp committee can come back next week and provide some insight as to what that discussion and what the end result is.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and to keep it simple, what I would ask is the assistant clerk of the board just carry the agenda item over as is, so we don't even have to submit anything new, but we will have a recommendation from the committee.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Director Pomeroy. Next is item 7.4, consideration of notification of increase in concealed carry weapon class fees. And I'm sorry, I did not look for up. There he is. Sheriff Martin is here with us, with Lieutenant Bingham.
Good afternoon. This item is brought to the board. We're seeking to, I know this is kind of out of the normal fee schedule process, but I think this matter needs some attention. We haven't increased our fees in many years regarding this, and we're looking for a fee increase that accurately reflects the increase in costs of providing this training. In order to be issued a CCW, each person has to go through a background check, which consists of fingerprints and a review of their criminal history, an interview with one of our range masters, and then an approved course of training. This fee would affect the cost of the course of training that we require. People are also able to go out and seek certification through several authorized vendors in the community. However, they're still required to pay some of the fees associated with our work, and fees that are required and mandated by the Department of Justice. Do we need a itemized breakdown on the amount of the cost of the fees?
I think it would be good for the public to know, since it will impact the public.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Bingham. He's very familiar with the breakdown of the costs.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, board. So basically what we're looking at right now is we teach CCW classes in-house. We teach both a basic course, which is a 16-hour course, and a renewal course, which is an 8-hour course. Our current fees that we charge for a renewal course is a deputy instructor fee, an administrative fee, a range fee, a permit fee, and then a California Department of Justice fee. In the past, our deputy instructor fees, we charge $25 per student per CCW holder for a deputy instructor fee. We're looking to increase that by $30 to $55, which would accurately represent what we actually pay our instructors to instruct these courses for CCW applicants. We're looking at adding an administrative fee. We have an administrative person here in the sheriff's office that does the applications, receiving applications, processing applications, coordinating CCW holders with interviews, and then coordinating their classes and getting them to classes, and then issuing them the permit fees or the permits. We're looking at a $31 increase, or adding a $31 administrative fee to recoup those costs. We have a range fee of $25 per CCW holder. That goes to electrical, power, water. It goes to the targets that are used by CCW holders, which is a cost to the sheriff's office. It goes to range maintenance. The range takes a lot of maintenance. Then also brass cleanup and disposal of brass and trash that are left on the range by CCW holders. There's a $6 permit fee. That is governed under California Penal Code 26190. That can be a maximum of a $10 fee. We have it set as a $6 fee. We think that's appropriate and leave that. That was what the fee was in the past and what it is now. We think it's appropriate to leave it where it's at. California Department of Justice requires a $52 fee for processing of the CCW permit by the California Department of Justice. That is a fee set by them, and we have no control over that. That is for an 8-hour renewal course. For a 16-hour basic course, which is your initial course that you have to take, your initial application to get your CCW permit. The fees are the same as far as the administrative fee and the range fee. We're looking to increase the daily per day fee for deputy instructor time of $30. So it'd be a total of $110 for a 2-day class, total of 16 hours of instruction, classroom time and range time. The permit fee stays the same at $6. The other fees that are set in this is the sheriff's office fingerprint rolling fee, which is $20. That's set for across the board for anybody who comes to the sheriff's office to get live scan fingerprints, is set at $20. And then the California Department of Justice initial CCW fee is $93. Again, that is set by the Department of Justice, not by us, and we don't have any latitude in that, and that's paid by the CCW holder.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Anything further from Sheriff Martin?
That's all. I had a little bit of feedback that was emailed to me from a member of the community expressing that they would like to see no fees and that this is an infringement on constitutional rights. This in no way infringes on anybody's constitutional rights. You don't need a CCW to purchase or possess firearms or ammunition. You can simply do that. As far as no cost, hey, I'd be great. If there's a way to do this without any cost to the taxpayers, I'm all for that, but I don't see any way to do this without incurring some significant expenses. And the people that participate in this program should bear those expenses. I responded to the person that, you know, if you want to drive, you can certainly do that. And if you want to drive your own car, you have to pay registration fees. Nobody else should be responsible for those costs. So we're not looking to make a profit. We're looking to stop losing money on this program. It's a very important program. I've been a very big supporter of CCW rights within the county during my time in office. I think it's a very important thing for people that live, especially in rural California, that they have the ability to protect themselves. So I just want to make sure this remains a viable program. Again, yeah, I don't like increasing costs, but I also want to make sure that we use taxpayer dollars in a most appropriate manner.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation, gentlemen. If we can open it up for the board to have questions and comments. Hearing none, I do want to do a little bit more of a breakdown based on numbers that I see, because the increases would be a total of $310 in fees for a new applicant and $169 in renewal. If you break that down by the 16 hours, that's $20 an hour, a little bit less than that. It's actually $19.38. the fact that there's 2 deputies that are teaching that class, I don't think really actually covers the true costs of what it costs for us to have 2 deputies there. So questioning the cost of it when we're asking for a specific service for a personal benefit, I think that the cost is actually very, very low in comparison to what it could be to ensure that we cover all the costs. And I know that if you review some of our other fees and our fee structures, typically there's other things that are implemented other than just staff time. I know that it's pretty typical for government, which I wish that was not the case, and maybe it doesn't always have to be, but that we look at the hours of electricity, we look at portion of payroll, we look at all those things that are part of the process of having staff there in the first place. And asking for that service, again, we're not making any money here. In fact, I think we're still kind of losing money from just the basic math that I just did. So appreciate you bringing this to us. And I actually appreciate the cost as to what it is. I think it's, if we wanted it, it could be more.
So that cost would be if it was one-on-one instruction. Our classes typically have anywhere from minimum of 10 up to 16 people in them. So you're multiplying that, the 2 deputies that are out there getting paid, there's anywhere from 10 to 16 people that are paying them. Of course, we can't have a sliding scale based on the number of people. Right. Sometimes we get 16 people that'll say they'll be there and 14 show up. So it's kind of based on what we think is reasonable, and with our class sizes the way they are, we believe this is an amount that we can cover the costs associated with it.
And I think we need to always cover for the fact that it could just be one person.
We wouldn't do it with one person.
So
just to jump in there real quick, to capitalize what the sheriff says, we won't teach a class with less than 12 students. Okay. That's our minimum cutoff is 12 students. We base these numbers off of 16 CCW holders in a class. Sometimes we'll end up with 20 students. The maximum we'll allow into a course is 20 students or 20 CCW holders, and then the minimum is 12. So we took that middle number of 16 and we based our numbers off of 16 CCW holders, because sometimes we're over, sometimes we're under. We felt that that was a fair representation of a normal CCW class.
Well, I guess
so the board has a better understanding.
I guess I need to backtrack on my comments then. I think we did what we usually do for fee structures, which is the overall cost of personnel, not just the per hour cost of personnel. Any further comments before we take action?
Yes.
Please.
So, yeah, I was going to echo, it seems more than reasonable, the fee structure. And by comparison, what would a private class like this cost?
On the average, it depends on your instructor and where you go, but I know over in Ukiah, at some of the courses over there, you can pay anywhere from $100 to $300 for a course of instruction, depending on whether it's a new course or a renewal course. And then you still have to pay the fees to whatever agency. We did a comparison with Sonoma County, Mendo, Napa, and Colusa counties, and they don't teach or don't instruct CCW courses in those agencies, and they're right about the average of what we're trying to increase our fees to, and then that CCW holder would still have to go out and find a private vendor to put on that course. So I think we're right about where it should be reasonable. I think that the county's not going to be burdened, the taxpayers aren't going to be burdened, the CCW holders are going to pay for the course that they're taking, but yet we're not going overboard or going too high.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for action.
I don't think you had public comment.
Hey, you didn't do public comment yet.
Oh, I thought we did. I'm so sorry. Let's go ahead and open it up for the public, please. Jake.
All right. I have sent an unmute request out to the Zoom room floor. If you'd like to make a comment, please unmute and state your first and last name.
All right. Thank you. Got ahead of myself there. Let's go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve notification of increase of CCW class fees.
Second.
Quick question before I ask for a roll call on that. Ms. Grant, because we're changing our fee structure and there's not a any document other than just the memo, do we need to pronounce the prices that we're changing it to in our motion, or is the motion as is good enough?
Mr. Chair, you need to either describe the fee or refer to the document that describes the fee.
Okay, I'll let Supervisor Scott amend her motion to make sure we do the appropriate motion.
I will amend my motion that the fees would be $310 for a CCW weapons class. Is that good enough?
And $169 for renewal.
And $169 for renewals.
It's fine, thank you.
And we have a second from Supervisor Crandall, I believe, or was that Pyska?
It was Pyska.
Okay, Supervisor Pyska. And before we roll call again, Ms. Hutchinson?
Yes, just for discussion, Mr. Chair. This was a fee that the admin office didn't know of, and so it's not in the master fee ordinance. But we knew that the sheriff needed to bring this forward to you today. So it's our hope to work with his office to wrap it into the master fee ordinance as a whole, which, as you know, is updated around the start of each fiscal year.
Perfect. Thank you much for that update. Okay, Johanna, let's go ahead and go with roll call.
Okay, Supervisor Simon.
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall.
Yes.
Supervisor Scott.
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska.
Yes.
And Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Lieutenant. Let's go ahead and move on to item 7.5. I believe I saw, was it Ms. Ringen or Ms. Martinez? Oh, both of them are on here.
They're both here.
Okay, so 7.5, consideration of resolution authorizing the chairman of the board to approve and direct the tax collector to sell by public auction via internet tax defaulted property, which is subject to the power to sell in accordance with Chapter 7 of Part 6 of Division 1 of the California Revenue and Taxation Code, and approving sales below minimum price in specified cases. Ms. Ringen.
Good afternoon. The tax sale dates are scheduled for June the 5th to June the 8th of 2021. There are 490 parcels being offered for tax sale. The internet auction is being held at bidforassets.com. The public will be able to view our tax sale at Bid for Assets approximately 30 days prior to the auction. Complete instructions on how to participate in the auction will also be posted on the Bid for Assets website at that time. I'm available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the board? Yes, Ms. Pyska, Supervisor Pyska.
I think 490 is a decent start, especially knowing that we're going to probably have many of these properties redeemed before the sale. What's the strategy for getting us to a higher sale amount for the next sales going forward?
Okay, for this tax year, this is the second auction that we've had. We just completed one in January. So annually, we anticipate having approximately 1,000 parcels that we will offer for tax sale. So going forward for the 21-22 tax year, again, that is our goal.
So is that goal of 1,000 for the actual sales or for the original offer?
The 1,000 would be the number that we would bring in front of your board to approve for tax auction. So we are ongoing sending notifications out to taxpayers to redeem their properties on a regular basis, and even prior to a power to sell lien being recorded, we also notify the taxpayer that if they're eligible to start a payment plan, to do so and stay in good standing with their payment plan, because of course, offering them at tax sale would be our last option. So the 1,000 parcels is the total number of parcels that we would bring in front of your board to approve for an actual tax auction.
But in the past, it seems like at least half of them get redeemed in the period. So then we're looking at maybe 500 sold a year.
Well, yes. Well, our goal is obviously for the property owner to redeem their property and not be sold at tax sale. And also the parcels that possibly we are offering now are land only, or possibly structures that are unoccupied and maybe red tag, those are not as desirable generally as some of the properties. So again, the 1,000 would be our maximum that we would bring to the board.
There's no way to increase that for each year. We've got such a backlog.
No, not at this time. And we actually, I think, have approximately, I think it was 4,600 actual parcels that are eligible for tax sale at this point. Many of those parcels are up in the paper subdivisions. So going forward, probably in the next couple of months, I can bring in front of the board an updated list of properties that are actually eligible for sale once we complete these 2 sales, one in January and the one we are scheduled for June.
Any further comments or questions from the board? So, Ms. Ringen, I have been pretty tough on you in this past 2 years since I've been in office. And I just want to make a statement that I am really pleased that there's 490 properties before us for this upcoming tax auction. I will admit that I was hesitant that you would be able to get such a high number after such a short time period between the last auction and this auction. But I find it very satisfying to see this number. I think that the fact that people are paying off their properties and that we end up not selling as many gives us the same overall status that our goal is to not have this amount of tax defaults. If people pay it off, that's a win. If people don't pay it off and it gets sold, that's a win. That's what we want to aim for, is to reduce the total number that in our system states are tax defaulted. So I think that this is a very good step forward, and I appreciate the work that you and your department have done. And I make sure and state that because, again, I've been really hard on you and your department about our status and where we are. And I hope that this is a page-turning moment where we will see this again in the future. And I appreciate this. What I do want to talk about more specifically is the part of our approval is to approve the reductions in minimum bids. The minimum bid, and I'll put air quotes, is based on what the state of California, not Secretary of State, but Controller's Office tells us the minimum bid must be upon the first time it gets put on a tax defaulted tax auction. And that's basically all the back taxes, all the penalties, all the fees, all the interest, and any other assessments or direct taxes that are applied to that. So we have no choice. That's our minimum bid. But if they've already been submitted to a tax auction and not sold, we can reduce that minimum bid. So I did ask Ms. Ringen for a list of all those that were reduced. The ones that were reduced before reduction could have been sold at $1.9 million. Obviously, they were not sold. That's why they can be reduced further. And they were reduced by $1.1 million to now have the potential of revenue of $790,000. I think that for some, we just don't have a choice. It's either we keep going and adding more and more costs to those properties, which just makes them unsellable or undesirable, because nobody wants to buy a property for $50,000 that's only worth $5,000. But I did have 2 questions on those properties, on 2 properties specifically. There's one that is APN number 040-193-350. It's on Emory Avenue in the city of Clear Lake. The minimum bid, based on the State Controller's Office minimum bid description, is $181.5 thousand. Sorry, let me read that differently. $181,500 approximately, and it was reduced by $161,000. Now, I don't think that it would be sellable at that cost, but I'm just wondering who is losing out on that $161,000. Is that an assessment, a code enforcement assessment that was applied and that will not be paid back from the city of Clear Lake? Is that something else? Wondering if you can describe that one. And then the other one I'm looking at, actually, I'll let you respond to that before I move on to the next one and confuse things.
Okay, Gwen, I must apologize. I didn't have my list in front of me at the moment. Can I have that parcel number again, please?
Oh, I'm so sorry. 040-193-350 and then 000. And it's on 14718 Emory Avenue.
Yes, so this particular parcel has been in tax default since I think it was 2009, and it's been offered several times. 2017 was one of the first years that it was offered for tax sale. And originally there was a structure on this property. So there has been a minimum of 2 nuisance abatement liens that have been placed on this property. I think the base amount of those liens were about $58,000, $59,000. And then the tax and penalty, of course, at 1.5% is quite high. Also, it's in an area for sewer, and so they have delinquent sewer fees that have been added to this property over the years of approximately $2,000. Occasionally, sometimes even if a house is not habitable and people are not living there, those fees will continue, and then they do get attached to the property. But generally what happens is the property value does not meet the amount that's on the tax bill for collection. So I believe there's no structure there now. It's a vacant lot. Although the assessor still, I think, has a value there. They probably have that work in progress as far as removing that structure from their rolls.
Okay, so there may have been a couple tax years or a tax year of accumulated taxes based on a developed property versus a vacant lot?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, the taxes and the penalties and interest definitely add, not the taxes, the penalties and interest absolutely add on a whole lot on top of that. So it's good to know that it's not that large of a number in comparison, which I'm just going to bypass the next one because that's probably the same basic concept. And again, in order to sell them, we have to do something like this. I am curious if in the future we can pass this list through our auditor controller's office to figure out how this impacts our teeter, as our teeter is meant to be stabilized by those interests and fees and things of the kind. And while I don't want to stop you from what you're doing, I'm hoping that in the future we can come with a little bit more information so that we can ensure that the impacts of bypassing those fees and interests do not have any harmful effects to any of the departments or even other jurisdictions.
Yes, my goal was to have that list be added when submitted the resolution, but unfortunately due to the timing and the close proximity of the 2 auctions, it was not able to be completed in time to present at the same time.
Okay. Well, again, I do appreciate that there's 490 properties before us. I think we are on the right path, and I appreciate that. And also, just for further comments, there is work inside the Economic Development Task Force for paper parcels because it needs a more specific plan than just a tax auction plan. So hopefully that will be coming to you guys in the near future. Supervisor Scott.
Yes, also very thankful that we're seeing this come upon us so fast after the last auction. I'm really hoping that if Lake County, if we can stay on top of these auctions, people will realize that we are doing this and they'll start paying their taxes knowing that for so long we weren't doing these auctions and maybe, they didn't pay their taxes knowing that there was not going to be any follow-up. So I would love to see more houses up for auction so we can get all caught up, but I'm just thankful that we are seeing these so fast.
And if I may add, because Ms. Ringen did not provide this specific detailed information, according to our conversations, and Ms. Ringen, please correct me if I'm wrong, because of COVID-19 and the last statement provided by the State Controller's Office about tax auctions, all of these are vacant land. They are not developed land.
That's correct.
Hopefully in the near future, we will have more developed properties, which are the more likely to be sold versus not. So, and then last question real quick, Ms. Ringen, just for helping us with future timelines, our discussion, you mentioned that again in January or February of 2022, you would have another tax auction with approximately the same number?
We're reviewing that now. Going into the new fiscal year, we will be down one staff member for several months. So we're reviewing the possibility of having just one larger sale later on in the year of the 1,000 parcels, at least for this next tax year, because of the timing of the staffing availability.
Okay. And I would suggest please keep the Treasurer Tax Collector Task Force or ad hoc committee apprised of what's happening so that we can figure out ways to support you to make sure that that happens.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Let's go ahead, and if there's no further comments, Supervisor Crandall.
No, I want to echo and thank you, Barbara, and Liz, for the work you put into this. I too was was hoping that this would happen last year. Of course, we know we ran into some issues with the pandemic and whatnot. I too would like to see a lot more as well, Supervisor Paiska. But at the same time, I'm glad that we're getting them done, and I'm looking forward to seeing another sale with a lot more properties. It's going to make a difference, I know for sure, in my community, in my district, as there are a lot of properties that are tax defaulted and are problem properties. So this is the way to, this is the path to solving. I won't say it's the way because there's no silver bullet. Wish there was, but there's not. But thank you for doing this.
Thank you. And again, we wouldn't be able to pull this together unless we do have the dedicated, hardworking staff that we do. So I want to thank my staff for this, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and open it up to the public. Any public comment? Oh, wait. We have Deputy Director Thomas, who has her finger/hand raised.
Sorry, I can't figure out how to raise my hand on Zoom. But any rate, I just had one quick question, and I apologize if this is not the appropriate venue, but I wanted to know if the minimum bid reflected any liens from previous code enforcement actions.
If the bids have not been reduced, have been offered before, that's likely, because we have to include if it's offered for the first time and you have a lien and that lien has been placed on the tax roll, it would be included in the minimum bid.
Thank you so much.
And I believe that I have, is it 74 properties that were reduced further than just the minimum bid. The rest, which would be about 415, are at the full minimum bid price, which accumulates all of those things, including code enforcement assessments.
I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. So what I'm hearing is if it is the minimum bid and it does have a code enforcement lien, that below the minimum bid does include the code enforcement lien.
If it's below the minimum bid, it would depend on how it is that Ms. Ringen reduced the amount. If she got rid of everything other than the back taxes, or if she got rid of portions of things. But sorry, I should probably let Ms. Ringen respond.
Actually, that question would be best answered by the auditor's office, how they handle a deficit sale. But if the minimum bid, if there is a lien for a nuisance abatement on a tax property that sells for less than the minimum bid, the auditor's office again would have to. It's a prorated process, so it's not a simple process. So I wouldn't want to answer for Kathy on that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Jake, let's go ahead and open up the Zoom room and see if we have any public comments on this item.
All right, I've sent an unmute request out to the Zoom room floor. If you'd like to make a comment, please unmute and state your first and last name.
All right, without any public comments, let's go ahead and bring it back to the board. Any further deliberation before we take action on this item?
Just that I'm glad also to see that they're working on getting these payment arrangements as well for some of the folks that, are having issues during this, difficult time as well. So I appreciate hearing that as well.
I did have one final comment for Barbara. Barbara, if you could just repeat again where if someone's interested in the tax sale, where they need to go to find the information. If you could just give us that one more time. Is Barbara still here?
Yes, I'm still here. Yes, the tax sale will be held at bidforassets.com. They can also go to our website, the tax collector's website, and we will have a link to their website. Our auction items will not be available, though, to view until 30 days prior to the sale, but they might be interested in going to that website now because there are other counties that do have auctions going on, and our auction would be very similar to theirs.
Thank you for that. I just want to get that out to the public. I know we had public comment on that. Someone had written in, so I just want to make that very clear how they find the access to that.
Right. But we do prefer that you purchase through our tax auction than someone else.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I wanted to get that information out there.
And also, if you go to the agenda portion of our website and look up item 7.5 for the March 2nd agenda, then you will see the full list with the APN numbers, and you can start your research today rather than waiting a long period of time, because doing research on these properties is vital for making sure that your purchase is a viable purchase for what your needs are. Looking for action from the board.
I offer the resolution.
Okay, Johanna, if we can please have a roll call. Resolution has been offered.
Okay, Supervisor Simon.
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall.
Yes.
Supervisor Scott.
Yes.
Supervisor Pyska.
Yes.
And Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Johanna. Thank you, Ms. Ringen. And we look forward to that coming up in June.
Thank you.
So I believe that covers every single one of our agenda items for today, which means that we will be going into closed session. We have 2 items today. 8.1 is conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, City of Clear Lake versus County of Lake et al. 8.2, employee disciplinary appeal, Government Code Section 54957, appeal number 2021-01. And unless I've been mistaken, we are done and we will be moving into closed session. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in today's meeting.
And Mr. Chair, we'll just stay right here and secure the room after the team is done.
Perfect. Thank you.